Okay, so the next question that we have here is a word problem. So basically the situation is something like this, meaning that at a hotel, basically you will be charged based on this plan. You have basically some fixed charges for basically, it doesn't matter how long you stay there. You have these fixed charges, and you have the food cost per day. Meaning that, for example, if you stay there for 1 day, it's going to be 1 times this food cost per day. 2 days would be 2 days, and so on and so forth. So now, what happens is that we have guest A over here, who has stayed basically for 20 days and has actually eaten for 20 days as well. And he has had to pay $1,000. We have another guest B, that has stayed and basically eaten for 26 days, and he has had to pay $1,180. And it seems that at this imaginary hotel there is no charges for staying. As long as you pay your fixed charges, you can stay as long as you want, and then you just pay for your food per day. Okay, so now what happens is that you want to find the fixed charges and the food cost per day charge that a guest has to pay at this hotel. So in order to find that, you know that basically, for example, this guest A, who paid, for example, a basically $1,000, he paid the fixed charges for that everybody has to pay, and he has paid 20 days worth of food as well. So that means that if I assign a variable y, for example, to food cost per day, and if I assign another variable over here, x, to the fixed charges over here, this guest A, what he's done is that he has paid the fixed charges, which was x, and also 20 times y, because he has eaten 20 times, or in 20 days. So 20y is equal to $1,000. So this is for guest A, and this guest B has had to pay the fixed charges as x, and he has eaten for 26 days. So 26 times y has paid $1,180. So there you have basically a system of a pair of linear equations, and you can see that over here, if you take the A1 to A2, for example, is equal to 1, and B1 to B2 is equal to 20 to 26, which is something around, I don't know, something less than 1, around 0.8 or so. And C1 to C2 is kind of the same thing. So is 20 to 26, which is equal to 10 to 13. So 10 to 13, and C1 to C2 is equal to 1,000 to 1,180, and divide by 10, you'll get 100. Divide by 10, you get 118, and that 59, and then 59 is divisible by probably, I don't know, 7, but doesn't matter. I mean, you will have a unique answer over here. So I just wanted to show you that basically A1 to A2 is not equal to B1 to B2, right? So these are not equal. So basically you will have a unique a unique solution, right? You will have a unique solution. So now, in order to solve the problem, in order to solve this problem, what you can do is that you can use the cross multiplication method, which basically you can write your x over here, you can write your y over here, you can write 1 over here. Okay, so before we continue with the cross multiplication method, what you need to do is that you need to basically write your equation in the general form, and I'll show you how to do that. Okay, so now in order to use the cross multiplication method, what you need to do is basically write these equations in general form. So I write the equations as x plus 20y minus 1000 is equal to 0, and x plus 26y minus 1180 is equal to 0. And so then you can, based on this, you can write basically x, y, and 1, and here you write b, c, a, b. So here b, c, a, and b, and so your b becomes 20 to 26, and 20 to 26. Your c is negative 1000, negative 1180, negative 1000, negative 1180, and a is 1. Okay, so then you can write this as x over, basically you need to cross multiply here, 20 times negative 1180 minus 26 times negative 1000 is equal to basically y over basically 1 times negative 1000 minus, so 1 times negative 1000 is 1000, 1 times negative 1180 is negative 1180, and then the next part is 1 over 26 minus 20. 26 minus 20. So then you have basically 2 times 118. 2 times 118 is equal to, times 2 is equal to 16, 1, and then 2 and 3, 236, and you have 2 zeros there. You have 2 zeros there, so that's negative 23,600, and that's basically 26,000 minus negative 26,000, which is so that's negative 26,000, and that's negative over here, right? And then over here what you have is basically negative 1000 minus negative 1180. So we will do this in the next step. So the next step would be basically x over negative 23,600 plus 26,000. So I'm going to erase this part over here so I don't confuse you, and is equal to y over negative 1000 plus 1180 is equal to 1 over 26 minus 20 is equal to 6. 26 minus 20 is equal to 6. Okay, and over here you have 26,000 minus 23,600, so that's 3,000, 2,400. X over 2,400 is equal to 100. Y over 180 is equal to 1 over 6. So what that means is that x over 2400 is equal to 1 over 6, and divide by 6, you get 1 divided by 6, you get 400. So that means that x divided by 400 is equal to 1, and x is equal to 400. Okay, now about your y over 180 is equal to 1 over 6, is equal to 1 over 6, so that's 30, and that is 1, so y is equal to 30. So y is equal to 30, so 30 and 400, so 430. 430, so this is 400 and this is 30. Okay, so now what that means is that basically your fixed charges are $400, and your basically the food cost per day is $30. So that means that, for example, if you stay for 20 days, that would be 20 times 30, which is equal to 600 plus 400 there is equal to $1,000, which is basically this thing over here. Or if you remain for 26 days, that would be 26 times 30, which is equal to 26 times 30 is equal to so you have 3 times 6 is equal to 18,1, and 780 plus 400 fixed charges is equal to 1,180, which is basically this charge over here. So that's basically this example over here. But again, I made the same mistake, and I had to basically get back and record again. Once you have your equations in this form, you have to write them in general form, otherwise this cross multiplication will give you wrong answers, of course. So you need to be careful about that. Okay, so the next question that we have is so the question is, a fraction becomes 1/3. You have a fraction, for example, let's take it as y to x. It becomes 1/3 when 1 is subtracted from the numerator. When 1 is subtracted from the numerator, and it becomes 1/4. It becomes 1/4 when 8 is added to the denominator. When 8 is added to denominator. Now you want to find this fraction. So if your fraction is in the form x to y, when 1 is subtracted from the numerator, that means that your fraction is in the form x, and 1 subtract 1 from the numerator is x minus 1 over y is equal to 1/3. Okay, and it becomes 1/4 It becomes 1/4 when 8 is added to the denominator. So y plus 8, we have an x over here. So if you simplify this thing, you can solve for x and y. So I can cross multiply 3 times x minus 1 is equal to y. So that means that 3x minus 3 is equal to y. That means that 3x minus y minus 3 is equal to 0. Call it equation number 1. And here again you can cross multiply, you get 4x is equal to y plus 8 is equal to y plus 8, and 4x minus y minus 8 is equal to 0, and I call this equation number 2. And so I can write both of these equations over here. So you have 3x minus y minus 3 is equal to 0, number 1, and 4x minus y minus 8 is equal to 0, number 2. And so now you can solve for x and y. I will use the cross multiplication method, and you can see that my equations are already in general form, so I can write x, y, and 1. So here I write b, c, a, and b. So my b's are negative 1 and negative 1, negative 1 and negative 1, again negative 1 and negative 1. So my c's are negative 3, negative 8, negative 3, negative 8, and my a's are 3 and 4. Okay. And of course, you know that you have to write them in the order that they appear in your equations. Meaning that, for example, if this equation, if you'd written this on the top, then of course these numbers would be on the top and these numbers would be on the bottom, and then everything would basically fit together. But you're not supposed to kind of mix them together. They have to be in the order that they appear in your equations. And so now you can write this as x over, and now you can cross multiply here like this. So negative 1 times negative 8 is equal to positive 8, minus negative 3 times negative 1 is equal to positive 3. Okay, so that is x over 8 minus 3 is equal to y over, so that is negative 12 minus negative 24, so plus 24 is equal to 1 over negative 3 minus negative 4, which is positive plus 4. So then you can write this as x over 8 minus 3 is equal to 5 is equal to 24 minus 12 is equal to 12. Y over 12 is equal to 1 over 4 minus 3 is equal to 1. So that means that x over 5 is equal to 1. So that means that x is equal to 5. And also y over 12 is equal to 1. So y is equal to 12. So your fraction is actually 5 to 12. Your fraction is actually 5 to 12 because x is equal to 5, y is equal to 12. Now if 1 is subtracted from the numerator, that would be 5 minus 1 over 12, which is equal to 4 over 12, which is equal to 1/3, right? And if 8 is added to the denominator, that would be 5 over 20, which is equal to 1/4. So both of them are actually correct. Okay, so that is that. We have a couple more questions here. Let's go through them one by one. Okay, so the next question is, basically John took a test, okay? John took a test, and how he did on the test was that he got 40 marks. He got 40 marks. So basically 3 marks for each right answer. 40 marks, basically 3 marks for each right answer. And basically 1 mark, basically losing 1 mark for each wrong answer. Okay, now that's how he did on the test, having basically based on these conditions. Now in the same examination, on the same test, he'd gotten he would have gotten 50 marks. He would have gotten 50 marks if there was basically 4 marks. If there was 4 marks for each right answer, and 2 marks for, and basically losing 2 marks for each wrong answer. Okay, so now you want to know how many questions were there on this test. So how many questions were there? So now in order to solve this problem, you get basically 3 marks for each right answer, and 1 mark, you lose 1 mark for each wrong answer. So you can say that, for example, this 40 is equal to 3 basically so you can write, for example, to the right answer, you can assign a variable, and to the wrong answer you can assign a variable. So we can give this x and you can give this y. Okay, and then and of course the wrong answers you're supposed to deduct in your formula. So basically 40 marks, you got 40 marks, 3 marks for each right answer. So for each right answer you get 3 marks. So 3 times x, and for each basically for each wrong answer you lose 1 mark minus y. So that's 1 times y, or you can simply write it as y. Now if there had been, if basically the situation had been like this, then he would have gotten a 50 on the same test, meaning that if he'd gotten 4 marks for each right answer, and he would have lost basically 2 marks for each wrong answer. Okay, so now then if you basically find your x and y and add them together, that will give you the number of questions that were told that were on this test in total, right? Because the number of questions is the number of right answers and the number of wrong answers, assuming that you answer all of the questions, either right or wrong, basically. So that's basically the assumption that I'm making. And so then the number of questions is going to be x plus y when we basically figure that out. Okay, so now I'm going to write this in standard form, or in general form, basically. So I'm going to write this as 3x minus y minus 40 is equal to 0. And then I'm going to write this as 4x minus 2y minus 50 is equal to 0. And these are basically the equations that we are going to use, number 1 and 2. Okay, and so what I'm going to use the cross multiplication method. So x, y, and 1, b, c, a, and b. So b is negative 1, negative 2, negative 1, negative 2. So you have negative 1 and negative 2 here. C is negative 40, negative 50. And a is 3 and 4. A is 3 and 4. So now you can cross multiply here. So then you can write this as x over negative 1 times negative 50 is equal to 50 minus 80. 50 minus 80. So this is basically negative 2 times negative 40, which is equal to positive 80. And then y over basically negative 160. Negative 160 minus negative 150. Okay, and then you have basically 1 over negative 6 minus negative 4. Okay, so then this is equal to x over negative 30, and this is negative 160 plus 150, which is negative 10, is equal to basically negative 6 plus 4, which is equal to negative 2. So then your x is equal to, or x over basically negative 30 is equal to 1 over negative 2. These two you can cancel out, divide by 2, 1, divide by 2, 15. So your x is equal to 15. And then your y is equal to y over negative 10 is equal to 1 over negative 2. So these two you can cancel out, and then this is 1 and 5. So y is equal to 5. So 15 and 5. X is equal to 15, y is equal to 5. Okay, and so this is equal to 15 plus 5, which is equal to 20. There were 20 questions in total on this test.